Maakomele Mak Manaka is a celebrated poet and writer whose work has been published by numerous regional and international newspapers, magazines and anthologies. His latest offering, Translating The Protea, will launch later this month. Translating The Protea is a project that makes literature in our mother tongues more accessible and improves our communication. He joins us now to discuss this and plenty more. Mr. Manaka, sir, Tobe.
Tobe la maestra legai.
Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me this morning, actually, yeah.
Translating The Protea, what's that about?
Translating The Protea is a lifetime attempt of a project, right? In that it's taking my third collection, Flowers of a Broken Smile, and translate it into all the spoken languages of Zabochai, and starting off, especially on the 27th this month, Market Theatre past 2, especially this coming Freedom King Independence Day, that day, right, on the 27th, yeah. So to start off, I've translated the third collection, which deals with complex issues like self-love, love in all the facets and different meanings of what is love and what is relations, but with the self more than anything else, and also to pay homage to the women that raised me, So the book is a little bit complex, but the languages that one has decided to kickstart the project with, to see the template, Afrikaans and Sesotho sa Leboa ke Sepedi, right? So, the thing about translating the Protea, like I'm saying, my sister, it is a lifetime attempt of a project in that how do we make our poetry accessible? How do we make literature, but more than literature, how do we make our poetry, South African poetry, accessible in our languages, right? Can you imagine having to translate? Time has run out, yeah, our poet laureate, Ntatewali, the thing about this is that, I look back and before I went to Rhodes, before I went to school rather, before I went back to school to try and understand exactly why did I make this choice, I found out that there is an entire, a whole universe of South African poetry, and from the 60s, from the 50s, and I was asking myself, how come from high school more than anything else, and as the Department of Education has sort of stated, and they've already started with teaching in especially in Eastern Cape, teaching in the in our mother tongues, teaching, can you imagine teaching science, and I'm thinking to myself, well, since this has already begun, and there is a lot of content, especially where poetry is concerned, more than anything else, I think it would be great to start the groundwork more than anything else, So...
Okay, maybe let's, I'm interested in what you said about this is also by and large talking to the women and paying homage to the women that raised you. Tell us about them. What is it that you witnessed when you were growing up about these women that stayed with you for so long?
Very similarly so to the Protea, the flower itself, in that the flower is so beautiful, man. And in its death, it looks even more beautiful. It looks like a sculpture more than anything else. Like you would just want to put it there and look at it all the time. I have it at home. So it is a reflection of resilience. this is what I take from the women in my blood, right? And at the same time, too, it is a reflection of how resilient and more so, but independent of thought as well, you know, and always, I mean, when I think of my grandmother right now, you know, you know, and just because you deserve it doesn't mean they're going to give it to you, you know. And, you know, and my mother, on the other hand, is, you know, there's always a sense, not even a sense, it's a positive of energy, it's a positive vibration more than anything else, you know. And this is what the collection, this is where the collection draws its energy, draws its power, especially the feminine energy more than anything else, to embody that, you know. But the choice of the 3 languages, to be honest with you, more than just it being a template, I'm also channeling into the paternal aspect of my family, as in my grandmother's father. From Cape Town, you know, and I came from Frostane. Now, Yasipedi onaki ntate wa ntwengena ntate wa ntate mogolo wa ka ba tlhagang ka ko ntwengena ko Zebitiele, right? Ke Sepedi se ke Sotho sa Leboa, and then ya seXhosa ke my mother's father's father. So this was that I was channeling that aspect of it, in that is the paternal, maternal, paternal. But more than anything else, you know, it's a celebration of what writers who are well versed in their languages can do outside of writing. In that we are celebrating the writer's skill set, you know, outside of writing, translate that, because it takes a poet to translate poetry, and the process of it has been interesting. Really.
I want us to speak about that process of translation, but before we get into that, maybe you can just give us a teaser of what to expect.
Well, what's up, hello? You know, this is the one poem in the whole collection that has been left out, by the way. Yeah, and I give thanks to Sawata Mokai actually for helping me put it together. Naledi, gompieno ke apere pelo ka lo leme gorong utlwe. Naledi, goreng o sampone. Boom. Yes, right. So this collection is like that. It condenses everything. So how do I say it? But how do I condense them?
Sure. Okay. So you spoke about self-love and what love is, and I think when you just those 2 lines, for me, then I'm curious, right? Because you are asking a lover, I'm wearing my heart on my, I get a husband, but I'm wearing my heart on my sleeves, why don't you see me? So this journey of self-love, what does that look like for you?
It's more of reflection, you know. I mean, Krishna, you know, Hare Krishna teaches us that contemplation is better than prayer. And contemplation, in a sense that you pause, you take time and you reflect. In that the person you were 5 years ago, you can't still be that person today. How much of you has grown? How much of you, you know, my sister, you know? And when I look at myself, in a sense that the book came out originally in 2016, and And I just came back I just graduated, the school currently known as Rhodes. I just did my master's there, and I spent an entire year, 2015, and that was imperative for me to do, because it was more calming things down, because I come from the open mic and twingina, open mic, with long poems and very performative, and I'd learned and found out that there are other voices that one can tap into, the quiet and silent sort of voices that look inward more than anything else and reflect on the kind of life that one has had. I mean, I mean, I was in my 30s at the time, and I'm turning 40 this year now, and I look back and I think that person is not the same. So I have a different understanding of the word now than I did back then. And when I look at myself then, at the time in 2015, compared to 2005, it's a different kind of an energy, and when we talk of self-love, I mean self-care, is to reflect more than anything else, and to meditate and be patient with oneself more than anything else. I mean, we want everything now, and also breathe, and stay in your lane in a certain, to a large extent, but keep learning, keep growing more than anything else, because the world is so beautiful as it is, and sad too. But when falling in love is like Maakomele West will say that falling in love is a form of death. There are certain things about yourself that you have to unlearn, because now you have to accommodate this next person in your life, but certain things about yourself have to be shed off, and the poem Naledi talks about that more than only just the lover, but also the love for your people, right? The love of the land as well, right? I mean, it deals with those nuances.
Yeah, sure. The learning process, what was that like? Especially when you had to do the translation, Xhosa, Afrikaans, Sepedi.
My sister, I mean, when I look back, right, it's an ongoing process more than anything else. But thank God that, I understood translating a poem from years ago, because I remember my second book, which was In Time, right, was translated into Italian. And when I was working with the Italian poet who was translating, he wanted to understand certain aspects. But that process of translation, more than anything else, I had it, this is from 2008. I'd had it since from Nakweli, and I thought to myself, this would be an interesting kind of a project to actually work on. And it's only now that I get to it. But it has taken a lot of kind of internal processing for myself too, to understand exactly what it is am I doing, So I couldn't take just any translator. It can't just be any translator. It has to be a poet, because the poet, the poet makes himself a seer. The poet understands certain aspects. Poetry in itself is condensed language. And now, especially Kesapila, right? So now I have to explain, I have to clarify certain intentions. Exactly what was I saying here? And I remember when we had the one-on-one. So the poet said to translate. After to translate, it took 2 months. I thought it was going to be a month. 2 months, and after that we have the one-on-one sessions, in that now we go through the text and batlhalosa gore what did they find challenging and what do they find challenging still, and how does this word mean? What did I mean here? And that also made me that also made me read my text outside of myself. But this is not an easy thing to do. You have to read them outside of yourself. And I'm very grateful that I was trained in this. I got training in, the master's degree helped me a lot in understanding this process of how does one approach text. Because knowing how to critique is knowing how to read text. I mean,
so you did all this without even like the institutions like the Language Board, for instance. Were there any institutions that came on board, government institutions? Because this is not even a legacy project, but this is one that will remain on history's Hall of Fame for the next generation.
Well, I give thanks to the presidential stimulus employment program, right? Because I applied for that with the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture and the Business Arts South Africa as well, and the National Arts Council. So these are the institutions that I actually went to apply for funding from. And I give yanks, more than anything else, for them to come through and actually fund the project, because like I'm saying, my sister, it's a lifetime project, and this is only the beginning. I mean, this is a child learning how to put their first sentences together, and there's nothing as beautiful as seeing your first son learn how to put his first sentences together. There's nothing as beautiful as that.
Maybe just as a goodbye, Harry Kwale in word.
O river incite the sand, where have the waters from the mountain gone? Where are the love letters from the sky? My feet yearn to drink the wine of days I've never lived. Where, oh where are the women? No men, just women, 'cause men no more. And so I want a woman and no blood. Voila.
Malebo. Thank you very much.
That part of the poem, on the 27th. Yeah,
sure.
I mean, our languages are
where? On the 27th, where?
On the 27th of April, go Market Theatre.
Okay.
And thanks to the Market Lab as well too, man, in collaborating to actually provide the space for me to be able to, to share this project with them as well, So it's a retlaverleko yeah.
Market Theatre, 27th of April 2023. Maakomele Mak Manaka, thank you very much for your time this morning.